I am happy that the outstanding issue of two-thirds gender, finally, both sides have agreed on a way forward. When you have constituencies, you know, when you represent people, it's difficult to carry everybody's view. And sometimes you get blamed for this or the other. But I am confident that you had the fortitude, and the strength and commitment to make sure that you did the right thing.
Our position is that the report, including the various legislative proposals attendant to it, should be implemented without alterations. There are things we agreed to disagree on, and that includes the issue of the cost of living, which is of much importance to us. The government side demanded that we leave that matter to them, and we agreed for purposes of helping the country to move forward. But this is still a debt, and we are going to continue to press them to address this issue of high cost of living.
All right, that was the 8th of March, 2024. Some 6 years ago, on the 6th of March, 2018, there was a handshake at the steps of Harambee House. President Uhuru Kenyatta, in the presence of Raila Odinga, they shook hands and agreed on a myriad of issues that needed to be corrected. Some required constitutional amendments, others legislative and administrative changes. The Building Bridges initiative was born, and in a few months to, I think it was more than a year, a BBI report was presented to the country, informed constitutional amendment bill that was defeated at the Supreme Court. Mheshimiwa Ochieng, is history repeating itself, or what are we dealing with here?
I was hoping you'll not start with me on that issue.
No, just start. It's good to start.
Okay. You know, Sam,
yep.
When I joined Kenya Kwanza on the 26th of August, I said it won't be long before everyone else comes together in this whole thing called the big government thing. And that's what I'm laughing about. That, you know, you have one country called Kenya. And this country called Kenya is a going concern, always. And so when I see our leaders speak together, though they come from different ideological orientations, I am happy. Because at the end of the day, elections should always not lead to acrimony. Elections should not always lead to conflict.
Right.
After every election, we should be able to pick up the pieces, build one country together, as we look, if those who lose, look what the next elections and probably do better. And in between, we bring the best of our ideas and brains to make the country that's called Kenya a better place to live in. And that's why, personally, what has happened in the last, say, 1 year, you know, leading up to formation of the NADCO team, the NADCO process through where we are now, for me, I think is laudable. It's something that I think we should be able to encourage all the time. I don't think that every time the president and the opposition speak or agree on issues, it's a handshake. I don't agree with that, you know, description. And I don't believe there's been a handshake. We are trying to eke out a handshake where there's none. I think there's just an agreement on how to address a couple of matters that affect the nation today and in the near future. And I think it's something that we must commend both Dr. Raila Odinga and the president for agreeing to step back on some of the issues so that we're able to make 3-4 steps forward on issues that concern the country and that could make...
So what, in your view, is the most important progress that has been attained in the NADCO report?
One, the cessation of hostilities, as it were, that we are no longer talking about going to the streets, because you know what that does to the economy. You know what that does to the country. That those who go to the streets have very genuine grievances that has to be addressed, but because they go there because no one is listening to them. And so, for me, the biggest achievement of the NADCO process has been getting guys off the streets to the table to discuss matters that they consider to be very serious to them. As to the content of the NARCO report, I think one of the sticking issues for a while was the IBC reconstitution, which I think has taken a long time, should have been done yesterday. And so if there's agreement in that regard that we're going to have a new IBC in the shortest time possible, I think that is a very good achievement. Number two is addressing the issues that personally, and I must say this with a lot of foreboding, I don't agree with Kenyans' obsession with trying to reward, in quotes, number two in presidential elections, because elections have consequences, and this happens all over the world.
Right.
Americans go to elections, and for the time I've been an adult, there's no American president who has ever won an election with more than 50%, 50.1 or 50.2%. It's always 50.1, 51%. It's never been 52 for the time I've been an adult. But they go to an election, someone gets, 100 million votes, another one gets 99 million votes, and no one says that the guy who got 99 million votes.
Theirs is an electoral college sort of determining.
No, there's a mix.
Winner.
It's a mix.
No, it has both.
It's a mix of both popular and electoral, yes.
College, yes.
Yeah, but even however slim the margins of wins have been, you don't see someone saying, we have to create positions for this kind of thing. And so, in my opinion, that wasn't urgent. And so I have issues that I think were urgent that need to be addressed, like I've told you, the IBC, the cost of living and all these kind of things. But, creation of position of office of opposition leader, when you really have a minority leader in parliament, for me, I think wasn't urgent and all these kind of things. But the rapprochement between the two people, for me, is the biggest takeaway from NARCO.
The what?
Okay, the coming together, the thawing of hostilities and the talking together between the two, Raila and President, for me...
Which you said you don't call a handshake?
No, it isn't.
Okay. What is a handshake?
Handshake is when someone extends their hand and you also extend yours, and your hands meet in a greeting. That's what a handshake is.
Fred.
Yes.
So you went to the streets complaining about cost of living, among other issues, electoral justice and more.
Yes.
Eugene Omala, who sat in the NARCO team, clearly says that he does not agree with the report. He will not sign it. He will not take any allowances. Raila Odinga says that actually the government asked for time to deal with the cost of living by themselves, and he's now promising that he's going to make sure that he follows up on how they do it. Those that went to the streets might say that they went on a cause that has not yielded any results, because there is really no outcome from the NARCO team that has impacted on cost of living.
Sam, it's important to know where we have come from and why this report is necessary. If you recall, on Friday, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader, admitted that that was the first time he's actually stepping at Capitol Hill Square and addressing the public on that podium written R. And he never thought that that would happen because of the hostilities that Honorable Ochieng is talking about. And if you recall again, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, in its interim measures, and by the way, it's only Azimio that had interim measures. Kenya Kwanza didn't have any. We talked of cessation of hostilities. We talked of addressing the cost of living on the interim measure. We talked of so many things, even compensation of those who were killed brutally, I mean, in the police brutality issues. Today, we have a report that we acknowledge, all of us, that is a work in progress, might not be perfect, but a good start. In Azimio, we have democracy. There are people in Azimio who believe that we could have done better. There are people who believe that it's a good start. Luckily, majority believe that it is a good start. Let me tell you, the issues of concern to the people that we raised, cost of living was number one. However, in the framework agreement, the report says that we shall also agree to disagree. We agreed to disagree on the issue of cost of living. If you recall, Azimio wanted that Kenya Kwanza must first of all relook at the Finance Act that came with so many taxations. Kenya Kwanza refused. They said, no, 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 we have a better way upon advice from the CS Treasury. Azimio said, let us look at the issues of affordable housing levy. Kenya Kwanza said, no, 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 this is an important issue to us because it is in our manifesto. And therefore, at that point, we agreed to disagree. But on the issues of electoral justice and related matters, we all agree that we must reconstitute and restructure IEBC. And the reason why this is important to the people is because if the selection panel is put in place, they will have some deadline, 90 days, to complete this process, forward the names to the president for appointment. Number two, on the issue of audit of the presidential election, again, the two teams agreed that within 21 days upon adoption of the report, they shall select a panel from both sides, 3-3, and if they agree is a joint firm, audit firm, or separate firms to work on that and give a report, not to question the elections, but to ensure that in going forward, IEBC conduct their work in a transparent manner, accountable manner, and efficient manner. Number three, we also agreed that on the issue of political party democracy and fidelity, there is a way that we can actually have instruments of legislation in place to ensure that when you are elected on a party, then you become disciplined and you adhere to the ideology, rules, regulation, and the constitution so that you don't party hop. And that will promote democracy. So if you ask me, this report is very important to the people of Kenya. When we say that there are people in Azimio that do not believe that it was a work, I mean, it was the best thing. For example, Honorable Juno Amala wrote a letter to the clerk and the speakers that he will not be taking any allowances because his conscience does not allow him. And he also said that we ought to have done better. But if you listen to him in this interview, he also acknowledged that we have made progress. We have made progress on 4 issues that we all agreed with the people of Kenya and the two parties. So those issues we want to make move forward. But the issue that is pending, Sam, I agree that maybe on the cost of living, we should push more because as it is today, people are still complaining about cost of living, taxation is still very high, and much more is needed to be done.
How much are the allowances?
I'm not aware about that. I'm not aware about that. I'm not even aware if they have been paid, but I know there was a budget that was presented by the NADCO committee to the speakers and the clerk, and that money was supposed to be paid. I'm not aware about.
How much was the budget?
What I saw was about 100 million.
100 million shillings?
Yes.
So that's what it's costing the taxpayer?
That is what was proposed. But I'm also reminded by the team that it was revised to a lower figure.
Which is?
I'm not sure about the figure, but it was revised to a lower figure because there were issues around it. Some of the meetings were scaled down, and they needed to work within a shoestring budget.
Right. Senator, so yes, he says that Kimani Ichung'wah was quite pleased to be addressing the country from the podium at Capitol Hill. And of course, this is a stark difference from what we've witnessed before. But what are constituents in your county saying? Because once upon a time, there was discomfort in the coming together of President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, and now there appears to be a bit of coming together, really, if you're to also talk about the campaign for Raila Odinga to go to the African Union Commission as a chairperson there. What are people saying in your county and region?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I want to say that this report is one of the best things that have happened to this country in the recent past. Because, like Mheshimiwa Cheng said, there is a cessation of hostilities. Some, I think, before I come to what our people are saying back there, I think the drafters of the Constitution, 2010 Constitution, I think they made one mistake compared to the old Constitution. The mistake, and that is, what I mean is that when you vie for the presidency, whatever percentage of votes you garner, that if you lose, you simply go home. Because you know, under the old Constitution, at least the presidential candidates were also parliamentary candidates. And under the old Constitution, you lose the presidential election, but at least you remain in parliament as a member. And of course, we had the office of the leader of official opposition then. So this is something, in my view, that has been causing a lot of discomfort to people. Because looking at the presidential elections of 2022, for example, the difference between His Excellency the President and the runner-up, that is the Honorable Raila Odinga, was 200,000 votes. So it means basically Raila and Azimio, of course, had almost half of the country behind them. And then you say that this is, of course, he's the one that leads the opposition, or the minority, for that matter, but has no office, has no secretariat, has not. How actually is he supposed to run? How is he supposed to oversight government? How is he supposed to critique government? And so I think the creation of the office of the leader of official opposition, for me, is very important because it will facilitate the activities. Because Kenya Kwanza government and the president, none other than His Excellency the President, has said that Kenya Kwanza government is okay. They are okay with the minority or the opposition critiquing it. But without that facilitation, it becomes very hard. And so I think that is a very...
Wait a minute. So the work of Raila Odinga is to oversight William Ruto?
Not exactly oversight William Ruto, but this is somebody leading the opposition in the houses, but has no office.
How so?
Sorry?
How does he lead the opposition in the house?
No, what I'm saying is, basically, they are him and his co-principals under Azimio. Of course, are the ones that give direction about the party position. You know, in Parliament, we have what we call party position, and they're the ones that give direction. But they do not have, or the leader of official position, we do not have that office. So it's an amorphous...
Wait, is that how it works? That you get directions from the coalition leaders on what...
Not exactly directions. Maybe that should not be the word. But I mean, we have PGs for the government side. Of course, they have their parliamentary groups also. And these, of course, are chaired, if I'm not wrong, by the leaders of Azimio. And so that is where party
that's what I'm asking. So if you're, Senator, if you have a parliamentary group meeting,
yes,
is it a meeting of parliamentarians to discuss on the position of that group, or it's an opportunity for the party leader to instruct them on what he wants?
It is exactly not an instruction that happens. But then, of course, you discuss the party position, you discuss, I mean, the way the party wants to go. These are the party leaders.
But you can do that without the party leader then?
Having a what?
The parliamentary group can actually decide on what to do in the House without...
It can, a parliamentary group. But a parliamentary group of which party? Who are the party leaders? I mean, how do you have a parliamentary group?
You know, what I'm asking is because the Constitution gives the role of oversight to Parliament.
Correct.
Why would you assign it?
That is right. What I'm saying is...
Sorry. Why would you assign it?
I was just...
Sorry, Senator.
Okay.
Why would you assign the role of oversight to the first runners-up, I mean the runners-up to an election?
I think what I did, Sam, and you may have to appreciate this, I was comparing the new Constitution to the old Constitution. And I was saying, if we have an office, as proposed in this report, of the leader of official opposition, then this leader will be able to lead his troops in Parliament because it's important. That,
you know, what I'm struggling with is, look, you already have parliamentary group meetings, which are attended by the party leader, who may express himself on what he wants done in the House.
Yes.
Why do you need to put him in Parliament to come and tell you what you need to be doing?
I don't think we are putting him into Parliament. What I'm saying is, Sam, and I don't know, maybe I'm not putting it out very well. What I'm saying is, this particular leader of a party, the party that garnered the second largest number of votes, needs an office, needs a secretariat. There are many things, of course, that they need to do. There are many things that they need to steer their parties.
And that office has to be in Parliament?
It doesn't have to be in Parliament, but wherever it is an office facilitated by government. Because this is somebody with a big following. And I think that has been my argument. That's my argument. So what I was saying is having that office of the official leader of the opposition is very important for democracy, because they will be able to carry out their duties effectively, of course, because they will be...
Sorry, Fred, so this official leader of opposition is to go to Parliament?
No. That is not the recommendation from the committee. The recommendation from the committee is that the leader of opposition shall be that person who is the leader of the largest party or coalition of parties and who garnered the second largest number of votes in the immediately preceding general election. Or the person that has been nominated through a resolution by the majority party, or by the second largest party or coalition. That person does not sit in Parliament from the recommendation. That person sits outside Parliament. Number two, the reason why this is coming out, you know, this recommendation of official leader of opposition was not from Azimio.
It's not Azimio.
It was Kenya Kwanza's position. And the reason why they did that is because they went and created something called Prime Cabinet Secretary. And they didn't know how to address it. So they needed a way of cleaning it and entrenching it in the constitution. And they thought that by also bringing the issue of leader of opposition, they shall balance. But because we said that we shall listen to them and they shall listen to us. And remember, Sam, this is a negotiated document through consensus. So we agreed that, well, fair enough. But there was an underlined word at the bottom of that page. And we said, at an agreed time, because to establish this office, Senator is talking about it like it is very easy. To establish this office, you must go to a referendum. And the people of Kenya must agree that they actually want a prime minister. They want a leader of official opposition. They must agree. So we said that for us, at an agreed time, we shall go to a referendum and ask Kenyans if they want that. However, in the meantime, there are certain roles that this office can play. Number one, the office shall represent the interest of the opposition. The office shall promote issues of accountability. The office shall participate in other functions together with the government and also offer constructive criticism to the government policy and by offering alternative agenda. That is what the role is. That role cannot sit in Parliament with the minority leadership in Parliament. It will contradict.
If I may say something.
Sorry, I want to hear from Honorable Boy first. Because, I mean, I saw your party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, as one of the co-chairs of the NADCO team, presenting the report to the president, but also to Raila Odinga. I mean, what are you doing with this reality that not everyone who was in the NADCO team supports this report, but also not everyone within Azimio, because Martha Karua is on record opposing some of the resolutions because they don't really answer the questions that Kenyans or a section of Kenyans may have taken to the streets?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I've had my colleagues and I've had our leaders and their opinions on this matter. But the fact remains, Sam, that we were out in the streets for a purpose. First, of course, we were contesting the manner in which these last elections were announced. I remember IEBC had a problem. In fact, the commission was split into two groups. One of Cherera that ended up in Serena Hotel, and another one at Bomas. So already there was a problem, and that's something that we need to ensure doesn't happen again. And we also have this appetite that I keep talking about of, of collecting money from Kenyans. And that was, of course, propelled under the infamous and the the worst ever law, in my opinion, or the Finance Act of 2023. And so Kenyans went to the streets because we were feeling that this regime is punishing us for whatever reason. And that is the reason why this NADCO report was born. Because Kenyans, unfortunately, because the regime did not respect the Constitution, and we were doing this under Article 37, they decided to stop us. And a lot of people were injured, people lost their lives. And so at the end of it all, we had to cool down the tempers because you cannot run a country that way. In fact, we also didn't want to be blamed if the regime fails in managing the country. So we decided to talk. Now, the agendas that Fred has brought to the table are the ones that we took to the table. Issues of fidelity to the law, issues to do with the IBC reconstitution, issues to do with the cost of living. That's what we took to the table. All these other things that were being, many of these other things that were being discussed came from the side of government. Unfortunately, at the end of it all, like we said, you cannot have your way all the time. And it's just like democracy. You know, we say that the minority will have their say, but the majority will have their way. Unfortunately, because of coming up with an agreement, because we didn't want, remember, Sam, this was not the first attempt at talking. There was a talk, there was a team put together before this one that had the likes of the Senator of Kitui, that had the Otiende Amolo, Olekina, you know, Sifuna, Edwin Sifuna, all that team. They tried, it didn't work, because there were still hostilities. And so this other team that was put later was also working on the basis that we do not want to fail again, because what happens if they fail? So I think that's why there was a lot of give and take. That's why we kind of agreed to a lot of the things that they had proposed. But in my opinion, I think we are also democratic as Azimio, and some of our leaders may express their dissatisfaction. Personally, some up to now, I am dissatisfied with that report, personally. This is not a party position, but a personal opinion, because I believe that the Kenyans who died must have died for a reason. And it was unfortunate that Kenya Kwanza could refuse to allow us at least to deal with the matter of cost of living, which still is a thorn in the flesh, some up to now. So I think it's unfortunate that we didn't get to achieve that, even though we've achieved the positions that Kenya Kwanza wanted to be achieved. Because then they said that it's not about positions, but surely the two positions, the leader of opposition and the prime cabinet secretary, they call it prime minister, those two positions, those have come from Kenya Kwanza. Now, on the issue of handshake, Sam, because you started this conversation with the matter of handshake. Right. You know, the reason why there is so many jitters when you mention the word handshake is because when Raila and Uhuru shook hands, you know, the deputy president then took off and started his early campaigns and demonized the idea of coming together. You know, Sam, there is nothing better for any country than for leaders to shake hands and agree to work together, not to join government. And I think this is the underlying part that we need to address, because media have run quickly and started saying that there are cabinet slots that are being set aside for members of Azimio. We are not interested in being members of cabinet of the Kenya Kwanza regime. And the reason is this. The difference between Azimio policies and Kenya Kwanza policies is like night and day. It is light and darkness. We are totally opposed. We are totally opposed in the way we handle things. The punitive taxes that this regime has, imposed on Kenyans, that is something no one in Azimio would support. So I don't believe that there's any possibility of doing a handshake to work together within government. We can only do a handshake to cool the temper so that they can be given their space to work, and we're given our space to also oversight them. And they secure us as they should and give us our space. And the other reason, of course, we can say there's a little bit of a handshake, is because the regime has realized that our leader, who is a true Pan-African leader, his services may be required by the commission to be able to he will actually market Kenya and make Kenya look, like...
You're saying the regime has...
They have realized that they can use our leader, the Right Honorable Engineer Raila Amolo Odinga, to market Kenya in Africa when he becomes the chair.
So you're saying it's not his decision?
It's his decision, but it is to their interest. Look, we of course support him to become the chair, but who is shouting the loudest?
You support him for your own interest, or
we support him because it's good for Africa. But the people who will benefit the most is the regime in power. Because when Kenya is shining because of Raila, then they're the ones who will be taking the credit because they're the ones who will be doing those international conferences and saying, you know, the chair, who is our member, who is our citizen. So that's why there's another handshake. But there's no handshake, Sam, for us to go into government. That one is not there.
So what role would the leader of opposition be be playing, yet you have minority in parliament?
No, I don't know. I will ask the question just like you. You ask Kenya Kwanza, and I don't know whether you can ask Ochieng, because Ochieng is a Johnny come lately in Kenya Kwanza.
Because you know one thing.
You know,
anyway, I want to have my turn.
He's a Johnny come lately in Kenya Kwanza. He is actually elected as a Mio. So maybe you can ask Senator.
You said that the difference between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza is night and day. Then he campaigned for Azimio. Today he works for Kenya Kwanza. I don't know when it became day.
I don't know.
And he believes in the ideology.
I some issues.
I don't know.
But the proposed bill that would create the position of leader of opposition says that the leader of opposition shall be responsible for representing the interests of the opposition.
Correct.
Who is opposition? I thought the only interest that matter here is Kenyans.
Sam, I don't know that you want Ochieng to speak first.
Okay, let me read part 2 then.
Okay.
Provide an alternative policy agenda and constructive criticism of government policies. Promoting transparency, accountability, and good governance in public affairs. Fostering cooperation and constructive engagement between the government and the opposition in pursuit of national interests. Participating in state ceremonial functions and international parliamentary events on behalf of the opposition. I mean, what is that? Promoting public awareness and understanding of the role of opposition in a democratic state.
Sam,
what role is that?
Let me tell you, before Honorable Chieng speaks.
Yeah.
As we said, when we went to the talks, we had cogent issues, 5 of them, and Honorable Mboya has enumerated them. Those issues, none of them was close to anything opposition leader or prime cabinet secretaries. We were addressing issues of concern to the people.
So you don't associate with this bill?
This bill, we associate with it because we went for a negotiation. We are saying they brought their issues. And I want to remind Kenyans, let's go back to the framework agreement. In the framework agreement, we agreed that each party shall bring their issues. Those issues shall be harmonized. When they were harmonized, they ceased to be individual party issues. So they became issues
Fred,
of people.
And here you are, you can't explain what I'm asking you. Fred, sorry, Honorable Ochieng, sorry for calling you Fred. So looking at that description of the functions of the leader of the opposition, I mean, what does this serve?
You know, Sam,
yeah.
I want to just start by saying this. That Mboya and I are serving our 3rd term. And we've had very unfortunate times when reports are brought to Parliament and you are told, pass without alterations. You heard that statement even this morning.
Yes, yes.
It's not going to work this time around. I just want to tell someone that here, see, the reason Kenyans fought for political parties fund, and I want to marry that decision with this, what you just asked me, was that we wanted political parties that are strong, that can stand on their own. Those things you've just read, all of them can be funded through the political parties fund. If you want to designate the opposition to be attending state functions, just go to the relevant state functions law or guidelines, put his name there. If you want the opposition to have, strobe lights in their car, just tell the IG to designate.
Allow me. Who is the
allow me, my chance.
Fred, allow
your time, really. If you want the opposition to have sirens, just tell the IG to designate that position, that person who gets to be number 2 in elections is going to have his cars having sirens. I mean, Raila Odinga has taught us a lesson that we never learn. That without an office, all these years, he's played the role of federal opposition without any facilitation, without an office, because he is number 2. He uses This place where Chungwa and his colleagues went to the press conference, it's an office. It can be paid for by the political parties fund.
You mean?
Yes. Nothing stops political parties, the ODM money or the Azimio money to pay that office for him. Nothing stops ODM political parties fund to buy him the kind of car he wants. Nothing. That is why we had a political parties fund, so that opposition ruling party can run the affairs of their
party. The resources of the political parties fund go to respective political parties, and there's an administrative fee, I think, of 5%. But
that's the point I'm making here, that, for example, the reason, for example, let's give an example here that this year we have 1 billion shillings set aside for political parties fund. Okay? The UDA will get the highest amount, say 500. The ODM will get 400 and all that. Nothing in the law stops ODM to decide that we're going to buy our leader a car with sirens, or for that matter. So if you talk about facilitation from political parties, from the public coffers, political parties fund is from public coffers. Right? So for me, I have to tell you for sure, the creation of two positions, the PCS and the leader opposition, are afoul our constitution. They are not foreseen. They shouldn't exist unless what they are now saying happens, a referendum. They shouldn't. If we are to work with what we chose in 2010, then these two positions will require a referendum going forward. But above all, the president that acts today promised Kenya that he will not create positions. He did. I listened to him in the campaigns. So I mean, we cannot be making 3 steps forward and making 4 backwards. These guys, the opposition, were thrown like chicken, thrown something, a leader opposition, then lion, hook and sinker.
No, that's not true.
It's wrong.
No, that's not
true. It's wrong in my opinion that you saying you don't like it. Then on the other hand, you're saying, oh, because the Kenya Kwanza proposed it, we took it. What argument is this? The point is this, Sam. We either agree we're going to build our institutions, there they are, or keep changing the middle after every election. It's not the right way to do things.
Okay.
And number 3, what's something you've asked which also must be dealt with. We are not going to be creating oppositions for Raila or for Mudavadi for that matter. The positions we create should be, are they necessary in the public bureaucracy?
What is
you are not addressing, I've told you my opinion on this matter, that those 2 positions for me don't need to exist in our country. We didn't need them within the current legal framework that we have. And that's why I have to say this morning that I will accept NADCO report with alterations. When you go to Parliament, you don't leave your brain behind because NADCO report was brought. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind, there are already draft bills to
Yes, and as a member of Parliament for Ugenya, I will use my authority as a member of Parliament to propose amendments.
But you cannot amend a constitution amendment bill, can you?
No, you can't.
You can't.
No, but there's... Okay, let me tell you something, Sam, which you need to understand. Those things that have come from NADCO are draft bills. They are not bills. You know that under speaker, and this, no, a minute. The speaker himself, just a minute. The speaker himself made a ruling last week that what has come from NADCO are draft bills, and they be treated as so. They will then be introduced in the House in the normal manner. Okay?
Sorry.
So what the job I'll have to
do, so that we have clarity. I'm reading the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023. Yes. There are many issues, including introducing the office of the Prime Minister and the leader of opposition.
Yes.
So you're saying this is a draft?
The NADCO ones are draft bills. They have not been introduced to the House yet as bills. So
it comes to the House, I don't know at what point. So
let me describe this.
Who will revise it?
Let me describe this. So the NADCO has brought its draft reports.
Yeah.
Okay? They will come to Parliament.
Yeah.
The Parliament has legal offices, which will then process this again. They may amend. If the drafting is not right, they will do so. If they, for example, commas are not put the right, they will do so. That has to be clear. And then, this then will go through the, again, normal processes. They will go through public participation again, because that's what the law requires. They will be published in the newspapers again for comments. Let no one tell you that, oh, this will go anyhow. These bills will go through the normal process of bills of any other bill in Parliament.
You will do public participation?
We will.
Before first reading?
Yeah, no, after the first reading.
If you do the first reading, you can't amend that, can you?
Look, and you need to understand this, Sam, that all bills, regardless of where they come from, have to go through a particular process in Parliament. It doesn't matter who brought them. So after the first reading, the clerks of the House will be required to publish notices asking Kenyans to give their comments on these bills. That has to be understood. These bills will be processed. These bills will be processed normally. And so I was just trying to finalize this.
All right.
I was just trying to finalize this, my point on this matter, because I think this thing about without alterations creates problems. People don't think that they should disagree with William or William Ruto or with Raila. We will disagree whether we'll have the numbers or not. But the point is that the bills as proposed will have to go through the normal parliamentary procedure for processing bills. If I'm able to convince members not to support it, I will try. Even if I don't, at least my voice will count.
I hear you, and I'll read you the provision that talks about whether you can amend a constitutional amendment bill or not. There are two interjections before I get to Senator Nyeto.
Actually, what I was going to say is that on some of the bills, he is right that you can actually. I mean, if a bill for IBC, for example, comes to the floor, it will be processed in the normal way. But the constitutional amendment bills, you cannot alter them, and he knows.
I'm not saying you're not going to alter. What I'm saying is that you have to go through the processes.
You cannot amend them. You pass them as they are, or you reject them as they are. That's basically what will happen. But there are certain other bills that you can actually deal with in the normal way, he says.
Okay. What is the issue? Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to explain, what Honorable Mbuya said. But Honorable Cheng should also be aware that as we speak, they have actually published two bills. IEBC, Amendment Bill 2023, and Ethics and Corruption Bill 2023.
That's true.
They have been published.
That's true.
Now, when you look at those legislative instruments, they feed into the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2023. And if you look at, for example, functions or the role of the opposition leader as provided for in the Leader of Opposition Bill 2023, then you go to proposed amendment of the Constitution, Article 92A.
Right.
It speaks exactly the same. How are they going to amend it? But I agree with Ochieng on one aspect, that when the bills are tabled, there could be issues of spelling, there could be issues of misalignment, like, for example, if you're talking about Article 138.2, while the bill talks about Article 138.3, that's a minimal error that they can correct. Those are issues that can be addressed. Consensus does not necessarily mean that you disagree or you agree in totality. There could be minor issues that members of parliament must plug into. So we agree. But the main theme, they must not get out of it, because these are negotiated documents. And the majority leader and the minority leader have those instructions from their coalitions. William Ruto said that he has always tried to explain to his members of parliament on the need of passing those bills as proposed. And he has struggled. Raila Amolo Odinga, when he was receiving this report, told the public that it is the position of Azimio that those bills are passed as is, because he knows, understands that these bills are negotiated. We're not saying, Honorable Ochieng, that we will force you to accept that Mudavadi should be the Prime Minister. That is your issue. You can agree among your coalition parties. You can go to State House in a PG and agree it is Mudavadi or it is Honorable Ochieng. But you can agree with the Kenyans that they went through a public participation and said they would want a situation where they have a prime cabinet secretary or prime minister who coordinate government functions. Today, as you disagree with us, already through executive order, it is there. Why are you saying that you don't
disagreeing with it?
Okay.
What's wrong with disagreeing with it? I mean, what's wrong with you disagreeing with the position?
I hear you, but I'm also wondering, Senator Nyeto, what is the value of having a parliament if it is to be tied by instructions from outside, not to make any changes to a legislative proposal?
I really don't think that their parliament is tied to instructions. I think what I alluded to when I was talking about parliamentary group meetings, what I was alluding to is that in these meetings, issues are discussed. A party position is taken. The input of the party leader is given at the PG. And so it's not an instruction per se. It is a discussion where the party leader or the party leaders also express their opinions. And these are things that are discussed. Of course, in PGs, people do not go for briefing. People go and have discussions. So different members give their views. Of course, the party leader also expresses their opinion, and then we come up with a position. So,
is that so?
of course, yes. There are discussions.
Okay.
There are discussions. Unless, I don't know, for Kenya Kwanza, I think we do discussions. I think different members are given an opportunity to speak their minds out. Then we come up with a position. I do not know about Azimio because I've never attended, of course. Being a non-member, I've never attended any such. Maybe, but for Kenya Kwanza, I mean, it's a discussion.
I know both. So, I know both sides.
But while at it still, some, I think I want to fault Mheshimiwa Ochieng because he said that the president promised that he would not create any offices once he comes to power. I don't know whether he was alluding that the president has created any position. I think I wanted to say that these two offices, the official leader of the opposition and the prime cabinet,
Prime Minister.
The prime minister. Of course, these are things that are in NADCO. I don't think it is the president that has proposed.
So why did he promise?
So it would not be fair to the president to allude or to imply.
Senator Nyoto,
Yes.
during the campaigns, did you hear the president say that?
What?
That he would not create positions?
Yes, I did.
That was politics.
That is what I'm saying. Yes, he did, and he hasn't created any.
So
That
what
is the point I'm trying to put across, Sam.
Hold on. Are you aware that he presented to Parliament some memoranda on creating the position of Prime Cabinet Secretary?
Yes.
Opposition leader.
Prime Cabinet Secretary, yes.
What is that?
We are discussing NADCO here.
Sorry.
Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Let's deal with Prime Cabinet Secretary first.
Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Sorry, is that a position?
Yes, it's a position.
Created
this
by...
is just, remember, when the Prime Cabinet Secretary came, I mean, the position came, this was just an elevated Cabinet Secretary.
That is not
who
what
was
I'm
supposed
asking.
to coordinate.
You said it's a position. In fact, it is an office with functions to assist the president and the deputy. It didn't exist.
Well, I think the current Prime Cabinet Secretary, I think he's also the minister and the CS for Foreign Affairs.
Effective October or November 2023.
Yes. But I think, again, Sam, we also have to agree that sometimes the circumstances that you find yourself in, once sometimes you are sent to office, of course, may necessitate that you make a few changes here.
So what is that necessitating creation of a Prime Cabinet Secretary position?
You know, Sam, there was that need to have somebody, you know, overseeing, supervising the cabinet secretaries.
Isn't that the work of the appointing authority?
The work of the?
Appointing authority.
President.
Yes, but you see, we delegate, Sam.
But in fact, the Prime Cabinet Secretary does not supervise the Cabinet Secretaries, does he?
He coordinates.
What?
Sam, the functions, I mean the Cabinet Secretaries.
No, he doesn't.
Sam. Then what role do you think he plays?
What he does is that he chairs the committee of principal secretaries from the ministries. And he does that every quarter.
But that's something that, of course, maybe the president...
The cabinet committees are chaired by the deputy president.
By the deputy president, yes.
So you already have that office, don't you?
Yes, we do. But what we are discussing here, Sam, is NADCO.
Oh.
And we have two positions that have been created. In fact, four, because the prime minister is going to have two deputies.
No, that's not true. The Prime Minister...
No, sorry, the official leader of the position. Sorry, thank you, Fred. The official leader of the position is going to have two deputies and then the Prime Minister. That's why I'm saying four positions. Yes. So the only position, if you may, then that was created by the President was only that of the Prime Cabinet.
But he says the proposal to create position of the leader of opposition and the two deputies came from Kenya Kwanza.
Remember,
It was a carrot, really.
They were discussing many issues. There are also many issues that Azimio brought, and they have been put into this.
No, sorry, that came from Kenya Kwanza. Is it true?
Well,
it is true.
It could have come from Kenya Kwanza.
It did.
Because Kenya Kwanza wants transparency. They want actually to facilitate an office that can critique. Because Kenya Kwanza is not hiding.
But I mean, Senator Joto, what I'm saying is that those are positions, aren't they?
They are, but they are not being created by the president.
That road to, what do I say?
They are not being created by the president.
That road to power
These are the
promise that there would be no positions created.
Yeah. Remember, remember these were talks. So Kenya Kwanza forwarded the...
that's fine.
Can I say something on this matter?
Yes.
I got two issues.
As you close.
Okay. Allow me then say three. One is, I have told you, anytime bills come out of parliament from party leaders, that rider, passed without alterations, has really messed up parliament. We can parliament in a very big way. And so every day, you know, every bill, you know, this one the president wants, you must pass it the way it is. This one, the opposition wants. I mean, it's really weakening parliament. I think a way must be found to allow parliament to also operate as parliament. We as members of parliament cannot be in such a way that we, like I told you earlier, we don't leave our brains behind because so-and-so said this. No. We must, because look, remember the Orengo Kiraitu bill on IBC? Remember the Uhuru Raila bill on political parties last elections? The results were terrible. You know, so the security laws, I mean, so I think we need to be able to be sober enough to say that, okay, even if they were proposed by somebody else, we should be able to look at it again with objective and cleaner lenses to deal with it. Number two, Sam, the issue of AUC, African Union Commission, I want to request Kenyans, my friends in Parliament, opposition and government, this is not an issue for the rallies. This is not an issue for who is giving who a job. No. This is such a big issue, and I want to request the opposition. No one is trying to say is giving Raila a job. And government, no one is saying that Raila is going away for anything. This is a position for the country. If we could deal with it as such, let Raila get this job. Please, I mean, Okango, myself, Mbui, Nyutu, have no role to play in this.
That's true, that's true.
Our comments are not required. If they don't add a value to this, let's allow the government, which has decided this is the way to go to deal with it. The opposition also, and I want to request the Honorable Raila Odinga and his ragtag. There's an American president who said that all politicians want us to believe that they are all born in a log cabin that they made themselves. And it ain't so. Someone must accept to be helped. In this situation, Raila must accept that it's government of Kenya who must present his candidature and push for it. Okay. It doesn't take anything away from him.
All right.
Thank you.
I need to take a look at the feedback that has come to us. At Citizen TV Kenya, Sam Gituku, the hashtag to use is daybreak on what Kenyans are saying this morning, beginning with Engineer Lazaro. NADCO report shouldn't be viewed as another form of handshake or power sharing, whatever. NADCO report is just piecemeal amendment of the Constitution. It's logical to create Office of Official Opposition for proper check and balance. You say, Babu Michael, it's good the Kenya Kwanza side and Azimio One Kenya are coming to a consensus on the NADCO report. The only single but very important issue is to address the injuries and loss of lives that came as a result of the demos. Here we are talking of fundamental rights. Sir Nixon Dugirem, NADCO report is smartly addressing what's in it for the big bosses. Otherwise, for those of us at the bottom, it is a luta continua till pertinent issues like the cost of living, opening of the server, etc. are fully addressed. Chalo Woodrosy, Handshake Season 2 will not yield anything important to normal Kenyans. You mean ordinary Kenyans. Coming up, I like to think majority of Kenyans are normal. Coming up with a document is one thing and implementing it is another difficult task to deal with. Let us wait and see how it unfolds. Bob Otieno, now that Eugene Omalo and Martha Karua are against the adoption of NADCO report, are they going to be disciplined by Azimio Kenya? Can Mbui Robert of F. Okango clarify it out? I think Okango said that Azimio is democratic and everyone is allowed to hold their positions. Well, I'm just saying that so that he doesn't get to speak again because we're out of time. Senator John Nyoto from Murang'a County, Honorable Robert Mbui from Kathiani, Honorable David Ocheng from Ugenya, and F. Okango from Kanu. Thank you so much for making time for us. Up next is Sporty Monday. They'll be telling you what has been happening in football action and other matters. Bye for now. My name is Sam Gituku. See you again soon.